I made a video recently on the Elmdene ACCESS-PSU2, which is the enclosure that can hold up to 4 small Paxton ACUs, or you can have 2 large access control units. So if I wanted to have 2 larger units, I could have them in here. What I'm showing it with at the moment is with the Paxton Net2. Previously, I only had 3 units in there. Now I've actually added the 4th just to show people that you can have 4 units. The next thing, there was a couple of comments and questions that people raised. First one was, someone said, what if the whole unit power went down? And I didn't actually have the battery installed in the previous video, so that was my mistake. So I've now shown that you can have a battery, and it does have a battery monitor on there. So if power was to fail, then power would still be there for the units. The next question that was raised was, people said that the output that comes from this power supply is only a 1 amp output. However, the Paxton PSU that's supplied with their unit is a 2 amp supply. So why the difference? So I did reach out to Elmdene and ask for some clarification on this. Now, I did a bit of research myself as well. The Paxton Net2 boards draw between 300 to 400 milliamps in normal usage. But then you have the readers, and then if you were to have a lock attached to it as well, then that's where you utilize up to the 2 amp. But it would depend on the type of lock that you're installing. Some locks use low power consumption, some use higher power consumption. So if you're using a low power lock consumption, then the 1 amp supply connected to the boards would be sufficient. Or if you're utilizing separate power for the power supply, not from this unit. But if your system requires the 2 amps per door, then Elmdene do exactly the same unit, same enclosure, same size. The only difference is they have a unit that gives, it's called the ACCESS-PSU2 So that gives 8 amps total, so 2 amps per output. So it actually comes down to system design and load calculations. Now, the next topic that quite a number of people raised was fire functionality. And I want to go through that because it's quite an important topic. The standard unit, the ACCESS-PSU2, does not have any built-in fire functionality. It doesn't have any at all. So fire release would have to be handled separately and factored into your system design. However, if you require fire release from the unit, the ACCESS-PSU2 comes with, it's like one of the outputs here is a global ancillary relay. So global meaning it will release all the doors in case of a fire. If you needed individual, so let's say you had zoned releases, then it can be upgraded to give you 4 individual outputs, but that's something you would speak to Elmdene or to the distributor quoting that. So just a very quick recap. ACCESS-PSU2, we can add up to 4 Paxton Net2 units or 2 larger access control boards. We can install a battery to give us battery backup. We can upgrade the unit if we wanted and go for an ACCESS-PSU2, which will give us 2 amps per output. And also on fire release, if we went with the ACCESS-PSU2, that has a global fire relay, and it can be upgraded to give us individual relays as well. For any further information on the range of the Elmdene ACCESS-PSU units, you can either contact Elmdene, there's a telephone number and email address below, or speak to one of their distributors.